Hey guys, welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to talk about playing on the blues. This is something I think that every improviser really needs to know, and there's honestly almost no limit to the things that we can say on this simple 12-bar chord progression. Today we're going to look at playing inside or close to the changes and really making our improvisations reflect the harmony as tightly as possible. I'll show you guys a couple of licks that'll get you to the 4 chord, and then a couple of different ways that we can navigate the back half of the changes when things really start to get cooking. We'll be doing all of these licks in the key of B flat, and say it with me now, you should always practice this in all 12 keys. You ready? Let's get started. The first thing we need to do when playing the blues is make the arrival of the 4 chord sound authoritative. I'll teach you guys 3 phrases that you can play that'll do just that, and then we'll go through them piece by piece, breaking down why the lines work so well. Check out this first one. For this first phrase, I started out by playing this B flat 7 arpeggio, and then pivoted to the 6th. From there, I just ran down the B flat 7 scale, and then just continued my scale run inside of E flat 7 until I got to the 3rd. It's pretty simple stuff, but it also leaves us a lot of room for variation, and most importantly, we don't land on a note that's too stable, so we can easily keep this line going if we choose to. Check out this lick a little slower now. For number 2, I decided to start on an upbeat and play the arpeggio off of the 3rd B flat like this. From there, I pivoted and then played this enclosure to the 3rd of E flat on the downbeat of the next bar. Again, this gives me tons of room in order to keep going, and arriving on either 3rd or the 7th is always a good choice to make. Let's take a look at that phrase again, slowed down. For number 3, I again started on the 3rd of the B flat, but then I played this phrase off the root of the chord to take me to the 3rd of the E flat. I hope you're noticing a theme here, and that's resolving into a chord tone by a half step is going to give us the strongest resolution possible. Let's go through that one more time under tempo. Whenever I teach my private students how to play the jazz blues, new improvisers always tend to freak out when it's time to play the second half of those chord changes. Once we get back to the 1 chord, the jazz blues tends to move around a lot, and we've really got to make those changes in order for it to sound right. Now I'm going to show you 2 phrases that'll take you all the way to the end of the blues. We'll cover the 3-6-2-5 as well as the turnaround where we played the same changes but with a shorter harmonic rhythm. Here, check out the first one. In this phrase, I started out on the root of the B flat and came down the scale with 1 half step to the 5th. Once I got there, I played the chord off the 5th like this. That pivots really nice to the 5th of the G7, and then from there I played the chord off the 5th with the triplet, and then surrounded the 3rd of the G7 like this. Then I played the chord off the 3rd, which in this case I decided to use a diminished because that's always just really fun. Plus, it gives us lots of tension and takes us to the next chord really smoothly. We get this A flat, the flat 9 of the G, resolving down to the 5th of the C minor. From there, I played this turn and used a chromatic approach to get to the 5th of the C, so I could play the chord like this, and then pivot my way down to the 7th of the F. From there, I played this enclosure lick, then jumped down to the root, and used another chromatic approach to the 9th of the B flat. Now we're at the turnaround, so things are going to move a little quicker. I used 2 half steps to get to the flat 9 of the G, and then I played this diminished arpeggio that resolves to this E flat for the C minor. another chromatic approach to the 5th, off which I played this arpeggio that lands me on the 5th of B flat. So I know I can play this phrase to bring me home. I told you guys the second half gets crazy. Let's take a look at how all that stuff fits together just a little slower now. Here's one more way that we can tackle that section while still sticking super tight to those chord changes. For this second phrase, I started out on the 3rd of the B flat this time, and then played the chord like this. And then I pivoted to the root. Then I used 1/2 step to get me down to the 7th of the G7. From there, I just kept going down what's essentially the B flat scale, but I landed here on the 3rd of G. Once I got there, I played diminished up, which I know takes me to the 2 chord really nice. That diminished lands me on the 5th of C, so I came down the scale like this, and then played the pivot arpeggio here, and came down the scale to the 3rd of the F7. Now, I really like diminished, so I played it again here, and then took a short rest. Since I landed on the 5th of the B flat, I decided to play a variation on the phrase that I did earlier, like this. That phrase takes me to the 5th of the G with some chromaticism. I played diminished down off the 5th of G, and then jumped up to the minor 3rd of the C. I could have kept going down, but I didn't want the line to go too low, so I just displaced my resolution by an octave. It still works just as well, but it gives the line some interest and gives me more room to work with. Then I played the pivot arpeggio off the 3rd here again, and then played this little phrase to land on the 7th of the B flat 7 with an 8th note push to give my return to the top of the form just a little bit of grease. Let's have one more look at that phrase a little slower now. I hope that with these phrases under your belt, you can start to see and hear how we can make our lines cut really close to the changes. One of my old teachers used to always say that you should be able to hear the chord changes even when there's no accompaniment. Try practicing these phrases by inserting them whenever you get to the section of the blues that they fit in. You can also use some of the concepts I've been going over in my Improvise Like a Pro series to write your own lines on the blues. If you haven't checked that one out, I highly recommend you do so. The link to the playlist is down in the description. What do you guys think of these phrases? Did you have a favorite? Is there one that you've heard before? Maybe in a famous recording or just out in the wild? Leave a comment down below and let me know about it. I'd really love to hear from you. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you found this helpful. And make sure you hit that bell for notifications too. I've got tons of more great content on the way for you guys. If you're looking for a little bit more jazz blues playing, I'll be uploading a whole 2-chorus blues solo to my Patreon page, so you can see some of this stuff in the context of an entire solo. A special thanks goes out to my first 2 patrons, PH and Trent Taylor. Thank you both so much for subscribing. Your support absolutely means the world to me. And thank you to all of you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.